Now, I have played my fair share of Souls games, being only 3 of them, but I have played many other games in the Soulsborne genre. For example, Lies of P was an amazing Souls-like, arguably better than some of the Dark Souls games themselves, but we're not finna get into that right now. Mortal Shell is another, not as good as the rest, but still a fairly decent game. Also, Black Myth Wukong just dropped at the time of I'm recording this. And I guess you could count it as a Souls-like. I hear it's more like God of War, but I'm just gonna throw it on there anyway. I guess you could say I am a bona fide Souls veteran. Now, I don't mean to feed into the stereotypes, but the topic of today's video is why Elden Ring, out of them all, is my favorite Souls game of all time. At least for now, until I play the rest of them. Right now, while I'm recording this, I'm currently playing Sekiro, which is fire so far, so we'll see how that ranks on the list of them all. Now join me, ye Tarnished, as we take a little dive into From Software's latest masterpiece. And yes, Elden Ring was my first Souls game, but listen, that has nothing to do with the fact that it's my favorite. Alright, I'm sick of the agenda. I'm sick of the stereotypes surrounding players who have played Elden Ring first, alright? Now, Elden Ring obviously is a very well-known game. The DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, just released and gained the most traction a DLC has ever gotten in gaming history. And it makes you question why. Why, out of the massive catalog of games that have released in the past 5 years, Elden Ring has gained so much love and traction. Is it all the popular influencers who played Elden Ring in preparation for the DLC? Like MKiceAndFire, for example, starting a trend of everyday gamers dipping their toes into Soulsborne genres? Or is it because of From Software's loyal player base? Well, no, at least that's not my ongoing theory, as partially why it received so much positive attention. But what if, and hear me out here, the reason why all the streamers played Elden Ring in the first place was because of a few simple facts. That it was a good game, very hard, and the best Souls game to start out with. Lots of Souls vets say Elden Ring is the easier out of the bunch, and I agree, sort of, to an extent, for sure. I agree in the aspect that Elden Ring is the easiest Souls game for beginners to get themselves familiar with the genre, with many of its mechanics not being in many of the other Souls games, like jumping and directional rolling. And it's an open world game, which appeals to a lot of people since the past decade or so. I'd say we've gotten a ton of amazing open world games, like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, or Red Dead Redemption 2. People like the sound of a really difficult open world game, and I think it's really just as simple as that. And really, that's what Elden Ring is boiled down. Once you start up the game and get past the tutorial, they quite literally put a damn near unbeatable boss right in front of the starting area. And honestly, that was an excellent idea in my opinion, because they knew most people would either run or fight it. And that boss was a perfect opportunity to filter out the people who the game isn't catered to, once they inevitably get fucked by that boss. Now, me personally, I ran away because I knew I wasn't supposed to fight something like that this early, but you get the point. It just looked too crazy to be like a starter boss, you feel me? I ran immediately straight to the Church of Eled, bro. And Elden Ring in general is full of crazy challenges like that, and that's one of the main reasons why I love this game so much. They throw random, incredibly difficult shit at you all the time. It's like a parent throwing their kid into the pool and expecting them to either sink or swim. And most of the time, playing Elden Ring, bro, you sink immediately. Multiple times. Like, it's inevitable playing this game. For example, my first ever playthrough of this game, which I actually do have some of the footage of that you're seeing right now, I was getting my shit cooked by the majority of the bosses, man. I don't even want to talk about pre-nerf Radahn. Took me more attempts than I would like to admit, and I had to cheese him to win, bro. It was horrid. It was terrible. I don't recommend. But that's the thing. No matter how hard this game gets, it makes you want to keep persevering until you win. And I'm not trying to glaze. I know that can be said for the majority of Souls games, but I feel like it's different with Elden Ring. With Elden Ring, if a boss is absolutely smacking you, I mean bending you over and pounding you, bro, you can just come back stronger after exploring more. And then after you come back, you can just pound them instead, you feel me? Like, it's really that simple, and that's how I love the level progression in Elden Ring. You can get really broken really fast if you honestly really tried to. And I don't know, people try to say like you shouldn't be able to get that broken that early on in the game, or be like you're gonna like miss out on the challenge of Elden Ring. But like the fun of the game is like also seeing how fast you can destroy bosses, you know? Like seeing just how absolutely broken you can get to like absolutely destroy Margit or Godric or Renala, you know? I think that's a major part of why Elden Ring is so fun. And so replayable, too, to point that out. Like, I'm telling you, there is no better feeling, even not better than sex, bro, of playing Elden Ring once, getting absolutely cooked by a boss, then doing a New Game Plus run or just starting over entirely, and absolutely destroying that boss, bro. Like, the satisfaction you get from doing that, man, it's like, it's euphoric at that point. Like, it's so good, and that is why I love this game, man. I love this game. And it's even more rewarding once you do a little grinding for a certain boss because you feel underleveled, and then you come back to fight them and it's so much easier than it was the last time. Repeatability is a key aspect in this game, man, and why it's so beloved. You can dump hours upon hours upon hours into it and still have things to explore. Like, I'm about halfway done with this DLC as I'm writing this, and I have 219 hours into this game in total, and I'm still finding new things I never have before, like the random cave that's like near the starting area that has like what was it, a clean rot knight in it as a boss. Like, what? Why is that? I'm sure there's a lore reason for that or something, like, but there's just like random shit like that you find and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, I guess. So we have determined two key aspects of why Elden Ring is so good and why I love it dearly: replayability and exploration. But that's not even half of why I love this game so much, and so many others do. Another reason of why this game is so beloved is the lore. Now, I know not everyone cares about the lore of these games because they're usually difficult to follow, but Elden Ring is the most straightforward of the bunch, I'd like to think. And it's very interesting once you get into it. It's like, you watch one VaatiVidya Elden Ring lore vid, and you're locked in to finding out everything you can about the verse. This game's lore is so extensive, but also not difficult to understand. There's so many little hints and ideas they throw in that make the world a lot more clear as to why it is how it is, you know? Like the big reveal in the main game once you get to Leyndell, or the entire lore about Mount Gelmir and how Rykard used to be before the Shattering, and the entire Shattering of Elden Ring itself. Like, every demigod has their own intense, layered history that makes them feel more real and enjoyable. I can't mention that without speaking on Radahn, whose lore is just sick as fuck, and honestly heartwarming to find out. Or Malenia, as soon as you find out the reason why they fought each other in the DLC, and it sorta starts to piece itself together in a coherent, amazing story. Like, not to dick eat or anything, you feel me, but I do really think that the story of Elden Ring is one of the best that FromSoft has ever created, with Bloodborne being at a very close second. Yeah, if you've played this game and never watched any vids on the lore or explored it in-game for yourself, I highly recommend that you do. Genuinely, some of the best character writing I've experienced come from this game and its DLC, so be sure not to miss that out. Alright, we have identified 3 key reasons now. Surely there aren't more. Actually, I'm sure this video is already long as fuck, right? But now that I'm looking at the timestamp while I'm editing, it's actually not that long at all. So I guess we keep going, right? Yeah, there's more. We're gonna keep on trucking. There's a lot more I still have yet to talk about. Now, I would be smoking some crazy pack if I didn't talk about the most sold DLC of all time that's out right now: Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Now, I already hear everybody coming into my comments talking about how the DLC is unbalanced and difficult for no reason, which I would agree if you actually played the game to its fullest and didn't just explore a tiny bit and then rush to bosses. I would probably feel that way too. But thankfully, you know, I wasn't influenced by all the streamers boss rushing through the game and then complaining about how hard it was. I actually played the game and explored, which is literally a game aspect. Like, they literally made it a game mechanic in this DLC, and people still refused to explore, and therefore made the game harder for themselves, and then therefore cried on stream about how difficult Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree was. Like, I really cannot stress enough how if you had just explored the DLC fully, you would have found more Shadow Tree fragments, therefore making the game way easier for you, instead of being at like your Shadow Tree level being at like a 10 or like a 9 by the end of the damn game because you didn't do any dungeons, you didn't really explore fully. You know, I would be pissed too, and I would leave a negative Steam review as well. Now, I'm about 75% through the DLC now. Actually more than that by the time I'm recording this. I've just gotten to Iner Ilim, I think that's how you say it. But I beat Mesmer, which was an amazing boss, and a few other side bosses, but not the main one yet. So I can't really speak on the final boss because I haven't fought him yet in-game by the time I'm writing the script. But for everything else in the game, it's honestly just an exploration issue. And if you think, oh, my TikTok brain-rotted brain thinks exploration is boring, then really Elden Ring wasn't the game for you in the first place. Like, too many niggas saw MKiceAndFire speed through the game, beat every boss. Like, no nigga, you are not MKiceAndFire, you cannot do that, bro. Enough of the Twitter debates. Let's instead talk about what I like about the DLC and not other people's opinions. For one, the sights in this DLC are amazing, bro. Like, genuinely masterful shit. Like, that first step into the Land of Shadow is just so memorable and just straight up beautiful. And I love how, like, in the main game, your perspective of the tree changes as you get closer to it. Everything about Shadow of the Erdtree, look-wise, is top tier. Definitely outdoes the main game, in my opinion. Yo, the bosses are amazing, but I do agree some of their hitboxes are a bit, like, bullshit, bro. But we have that in the main game too, so it didn't really bother me all that much. The lore is just immaculate. Miquella is definitely one of my favorite characters of all time because of this DLC. I mean, bro, the implications he has on the entire world of the game, I can't get into it, otherwise I won't be able to shut up, but like, just know, I got some stocks in him, bro. In general, Shadow of the Erdtree expanded so much on everything lore-wise. It's most definitely a 10 out of 10 game for sure, and it deserved all those perfect scores and all the praise it's getting. I don't want to spoil too much on the DLC, so I'll probably just leave it there, but in conclusion, Elden Ring is a game of many talents. The graphics, the gameplay, the lore, the combat, it excels in all of these categories, and even does the same with a superb DLC. Now, it's not perfect, that's for sure, but for me, it comes very close. I hope your watching of this changed your perspective on the game a little, or encourage you to pick it up for yourself. It's a rage-inducing, controller-smashing, multiple 100-hour type journey that I promise is worth taking.
Why you hitting a woman? Shut the fuck up, nigga, and watch this goddamn combo.
Oh, oh, that took so long. Oh, oh my god.